All right, here we are. Right now we're going to talk about distributive property. So let's try to make distributive property as easy as possible. Let's start with the most basic version of what distributive property really entails. And distributive property really, in my words, is described as having something, we'll just start with a number, okay, times a quantity of stuff, and this quantity of stuff is typically added or subtracted. Let's start with something easy like 2x plus 7. Okay, so if we're going to use distributive property on this, it's very simple. All it means is that you take what's outside of the quantity that's being multiplied, right? The 3 in this case, and you distribute it to every term inside of this quantity by multiplying. So let's do that. So let's take positive. Now it's very important that you always consider the signs on each of these terms when you're using the distribution here, okay? So that 3 is really a positive, right? So any number or any term has a sign. If you look to the left and there is no sign, you assume it's a positive, okay? Look to the left, no sign, he's a positive. Look to the left, there is a sign, right? And it's positive. All right, so positive 3 times positive 2x, that's going to give you a positive 6x. Okay, don't put a sign yet. The new sign is going to be the creation between this next product, right? So positive times positive gives you positive 6x. Positive 3 times positive 7 is going to give you a positive 21. There you go. So we just did our first distributive property right there. Very simple, right? Let's look at something a little bit different. Let's say we got maybe 10 times the quantity. Let's say maybe like negative 6y plus 4. Okay? And something else to make sure you understand is anytime you have a number or a letter sitting right next to a parenthesis, and there's no sign between those, it's automatically assumed that it's a times sign. Okay, so there's an automatic times sign there, even though you're not seeing it. We have to understand that it's an assumed multiplication there. All right, so let's do this. So here's our number outside of the quantity. That's going to be our distribution. We distribute by multiplying to everything inside the quantity. So he's a positive 10 times a negative 6y. That's going to give us a negative 60y. All right, don't put a sign here yet. Our new sign is going to be the product, right? It's going to be the new sign generated between this product. So positive 10 times a positive 4 is going to give you a positive 40. So we put those together and we get 60y plus 40. Not too bad, right? And we can't go any farther than that because these are not like terms. So we can't take negative 60 plus 40 because this is a variable term and this is a constant term. They're not the same terms, so we can't combine them, right? Up here we were multiplying two terms. We can multiply two terms that are different, but we can't add or subtract two terms that are different. Let's do one more. Let's say we got, let's distribute a negative this time. Let's say we got like negative 2 times the quantity. Let's say we got like a 9 minus, let's say 5t. Okay, let's use distributive property on this expression. So there's a times there, right? Even though we didn't show it. Sitting right next to a parenthesis, we have to know there's a multiply in between those, right? So here's what we're going to distribute. Pay attention to our signs as we're distributing. So we got negative 2 times positive 9. That's going to give us a negative 18. Don't put a sign here yet, right? Our new sign is going to be the creation of this new product, right? So negative times positive gives us negative. And now we got a negative 2 times a negative 5t. That's going to give us a positive, so plus 10t. And there we go. That's as far as we can go. We're just going to have a variable expression answer because that's a constant term. That's a variable term. We can't add or subtract those, so that's as far as we can go. There we go. So we just did very basic form of distributive property. If you can understand that, that's the foundation for distributive property.